Welcome back to the Adventures of the Monad, which will look at life, the universe, and everything. My name is Kazim Kamal Ur-Rahim. In this series I ask the question, where do we come from? Who are we? And where are we going? I post one presentation a week. Please subscribe to my website and hit the bell icon for notification of future videos. You can also leave comments and join in forum discussions on my website. So far, I have delved into the topic of good and evil by looking at evil. To be precise, the role of black magicians. Although you can look at an action of evil as the intent of a single entity, evil is just a manifestation of a pair of opposites. Saying just may not sound very comforting when you are about to be thrown into an arena full of hungry lions. However, what I hope I have shown in my previous two presentations is that evil, as it may appear in your life, is always a correctional device. It is there to make you reflect on and expand your conscious perception of who you really are. As I stated, there is no such thing as an accident, only prearranged incidents. I wish now to look at the big picture. What are the forces that affect us? Where do they come from? And how do they act on us? I will start by looking at cosmic energy cycles. Let's start by defining what I mean precisely by cosmic energy. The term energy itself is misleading, as there is no such thing as energy on its own. So if we are talking about some form of energy transfer, we are actually talking about matter transfer as well. Cosmic energy cycles are the movement of one atoms, which are highly charged monads, through the cosmos. With the movement of this matter, which is in motion, comes fohat or energy. Consciousness is also present, but in the case of the one atom, it is latent. So we have the Holy Trinity. We can relax. All is well in our universe. In a previous presentation, I spoke about the 7 rays that emanate from the source. Each ray has a specific characteristic. It is the cycling of these rays and the influences they bring to us that can be considered as cosmic energy cycles. We, as monads, also resonate to one particular ray. So, the effect of any energy cycle will have a general effect on the whole of our environment, but also a specific effect on us. Humanity has always seemed to accept that there is a supernatural force that seems to affect them. We are defining these effects as a cosmic energy cycle. These cycles are natural and seem to reach us in what is usually described as positive or negative influences. The relative balance between these polar opposites determines how a cycle may affect us. If you assume you have a particular energy cycle in operation, this may allow a group of monads the opportunity to incarnate and take advantage of the conditions this cycle is affording them. These cycles are by their very size and nature long-lasting. This allows the monads of a similar level of development to incarnate to further their goals. This rise and fall of the overall level of human consciousness are therefore based on cosmic energy cycles. Let me give you 3 examples of cosmic energy cycles you should be familiar with. The first is the Hindu Yuga cycle. The second is the zodiac cycle, and the third is the Mayan calendar. You may say, yes, I have heard of those. They may be different systems, but they are driven by the same cosmic energy cycle. All three systems are derived from exoteric information. For exoteric, read Esoteric Information Made Public. With all these systems, timescales are given that could be considered to be in the right ballpark, but they are purposefully never exact. So if you are about to take to the hills to sit on top of a mountain to await whatever you deem to be the coming event, please take plenty of refreshments with you. You may find you have a long wait. The Yuga cycle is 24,000 years long and is divided into two halves. The first 12,000 years is associated with ascending development and culminates in a golden age. The next 12,000 years are years of decline and culminate in a dark age. Where have you seen a symbol that seems to represent this cycle of light and dark? How about the Oriental yin-yang symbol? In this symbol, you see the passive dark, also called feminine or night, and the active light, or masculine, day. In each half cycle, there is a golden age, a silver age, a copper age, and an iron age. I have indicated where we are at the present on this cycle, and it is safe to say that we seem to be on the way up. Whenever you deal with a cycle, it is inevitable that whatever cycle you are looking at, it will fall within a larger cycle. In the case of your 24,000-year Yuga cycle, it is part of a larger Mahayuga that is 360 times longer than the Yuga itself. The bad news about this is that although we are on the up in our cycle, in the greater Mahayuga cycle, we entered the Kali Yuga. The Kali is what is referred to as iron on the diagram. This larger Yuga cycle was entered in 3102 BCE and is set to last for another 427,000 years, approximately. As I said previously, each arc of the Yuga cycle is 12,000 years. In the case of the Mahayuga, it is 2.16 billion years. Does the length of the Yuga cycle of 24,000 years ring any bells? It should. It is related to the zodiac cycle known as the Great Platonic Year, the Great Sidereal Year, or the precession of the equinoxes. This zodiac cycle is 25,920 years long and is divided not into the 4 ages that I've just been talking about in the Yuga cycle, but into 12. Each age lasts 2,160 years. The last cycle I mentioned was the Mayan Calendar. There is a relationship here as well, but making the link is a bit more convoluted. The long count in the Mayan Calendar is 194,400 days long. This equals 540 years. Just to point out, this Mayan calendar is 360, not 365 days long. What you end up is with a number that is precisely 1/4 of a zodiac age. If we look at a number of cultures through the ages, we find that the ancient Greeks split their 12 zodiac ages into 6 that were considered benevolent, light, and 6 that were considered malevolent, dark. The Persians, the 6 light ages, were symbolized by 6,000 years of Ahura Mazda. This deity is the Persian god of the solar system and rules in peace and harmony. The 6 dark ages were symbolized by 6,000 years of misery and suffering. This was caused by Ahriman, a powerful black magician. If you can step away from all the mumbo-jumbo of dark and light, what you are seeing in the descent and ascent of a cycle is equivalent to the descent into matter and then the ascending evolutionary arc back into less dense forms of matter. Remember, we are always dealing with matter. For us on our Yuga cycle, our descent into darkness started over 13,000 years ago. Prior to that, members of the planetary hierarchy entered onto Earth to guide and educate us. These exalted beings were from the fifth kingdom, that is, beings from planes 46 and 45. It was they who gave us a unified body of knowledge, which is now known as esoterics. It also goes by the name of the ancient wisdom. So, 13,000 years ago, the cosmic cycle began to enter its dark phase. Why should this directly affect us? What unfortunately happened is that some students of esoterics were tempted by the dark side. Remember what I said about getting carried away with your own ego, thinking there is a shortcut to having your cake and eating it. Well, these misguided souls became followers of discarnate black magicians. They decided that they no longer wanted or needed the planetary hierarchy. Consequently, they promptly banished them. This all happened 12,000 years ago, and things have not gone very well since then, if you hadn't noticed. I have to say that things were not necessarily going very well before this period either. Within larger Yuga cycles, there are smaller cycles. There are always ups and downs. However, we at least had amongst us at those times some responsible adults who knew which way was up. When we told them to sod off, we quite literally blinded ourselves in both eyes and started to be led by the nose. So technically, we were in a very bad place, but the hierarchy was not going to take this lying down. The satanic forces would have spread around the world were it not for the hierarchy's passing shot. No, they did not release the Kraken, but they did unleash the Great Flood in 9564 BCE. The story of this event is found in the writings of the Sumerians, the Babylonians, the Hebrews, the Chaldeans, the Zoroastrians, the Hindus, the Greco-Romans, Australian Aborigines, the Mayans, the Aztecs, Apache, Navajo, and the Hopi, just to name a few. The Great Flood resulted in the sinking of an island known in mythology as Poseidonis. This, it is said, was the last remaining island of the continent of Atlantis. The Egyptians described Atlantis as an island that was approximately 435 miles wide, with mountains to the north and around the perimeter that enclosed a great central plain. According to Plato, Atlantis lay beyond the Pillars of Hercules. Now, in ancient times, the Pillars of Hercules were considered to be the Straits of Gibraltar. But was Plato referring to Heracles, the Greek word for Hercules, as a geographical location? Could it be that the reference was actually a zodiacal one? In 9000 BCE, the constellation of Heracles marked the celestial North Pole. In other words, it marked due north for sailors. Could it be that Plato was telling us where and when Atlantis existed prior to 9000 BCE? Plato also explicitly stated that Atlantis existed 9,000 years before Solon, who is said to have lived from 638 CE to 558 CE. He also mentioned it sank into the oceans after a great war. But afterwards there occurred violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single night and day of misfortune, all warlike men in a body sank into the earth, and the island in a like manner disappeared beneath the sea. Following on from what I have said about the reasons for this event in the first place, after the flood, the remnants of humanity had to fend for themselves. They no longer had the guidance of their teachers. The net result of this was that most esoteric knowledge disappeared, and exoteric knowledge became corrupted by superstition and folklore. It is often said that nature abhors a vacuum. The absence of the hierarchy allowed discarnate black magicians to step in and take advantage of the negative cosmic energies that were increasing. This brings me back to the point I made in my last presentation about sacrifice. Many of the so-called gods of this time were black magicians. What do they need? They need energy. Where do they get it? From initiating sacrificial cults. Fear not, however, the hierarchy did not abandon us completely. They continued to work in the background, occasionally stepping into the light and founding movements. Well, that's all right then. There was a responsible adult in the building. Alas, it was not as easy as that. These movements that were set up were rapidly corrupted, sanctioning wars and oppressing others in the name of their deities. Ring a bell to anyone? It could be said that we reached rock bottom during the Dark Ages, 476 to 1000 in the Common Era. In 1950, we began entering the zodiacal age of Aquarius. This roughly corresponds to the ascending Copper Age, known as the Dwapara Yuga. Things technically should be on the up now. All birthing processes involve pain of some sort. We are not out of the woods yet. In our scan of good and evil, I wish now to focus on the topic of demons. Who or what exactly are they? Demons are mischievous nature spirits. Think of them as low-level divas. They inhabit the emotional and etheric planes. They have become corrupted by black magicians and often work with them. Guess where Tolkien got his ideas from? Nature spirits that dwell on the emotional plane can reanimate cast-off emotional shells from a human being. They are also capable of stealing etheric matter from mediums. This allows them to form etheric bodies, and from here they can interact with the physical world. Nature spirits from the etheric world already have an etheric body. This means they do not have to go through such a convoluted process to materialize. Demons need to sustain their etheric bodies. We have talked about this before, but I wish to reiterate how they go about this. This is scary, but it happens. The individual demon may attach themselves to a victim's etheric body. This attachment is usually on the back. They slowly suck out vital energy, and this leads to the victim succumbing to disease. It is very tiring for a demon to maintain this attachment to a person of good character, unless they are under the influence of drugs or alcohol. In these circumstances, when the influence of these intoxicating substances wears off, they have to find another victim in accord with their own nature. So clearly, a demon is going to be on the lookout for a victim who is addicted to drugs, alcohol, or perverse sexual acts. They actively encourage this negative and self-destructive behavior. This allows them to continue to suck out vital energies like a parasite. Remember, this energy I am talking about is etheric subtle matter, vitalized with prana, the energy that comes from the physical sun. The truth be known, demons have very little power and can be easily overcome by the average human. This is why they prey on weak-minded and immoral individuals. Things can get worse. A victim's personality can totally change if the possession becomes permanent, and they may go insane. I have looked so far at the relationship between an individual and a demon. There is another interaction that can occur between demons and us. This interaction is with families. It stems from a practice called Ancestor Worship. This is a common practice in the Far East. These cultures believe that their deceased relatives continue to take an interest in the affairs of the family. Consequently, people leave food on altars. This has the unfortunate consequence of attracting demon-like nature spirits. Even though they don't eat the food, they can feed off the odors emanating from the food. These are etheric emanations. Remember, I talked about the production line of sacrifices that used to occur in the past on altars. They were dedicated to the gods. In the ancient Mesopotamian culture, the community was encouraged to bring live offerings of animals to the temple. These were then killed. Some were eaten by the priests and other officials, but some were given up as burnt offerings. Get it now? What was occurring was the direct feeding of demons. This practice was also widely reported in the Old Testament. This was supposedly done to please Jehovah. Really? Ponder this thought the next time you are standing over your barbecue. The practice of ancient worship has unfortunate consequences for the departing ancestor. It tends to hold them back. You give them a focus, and you keep thinking about them. This delays their passage into the emotional plane. Oh, and you attract demons into your home. So, okay, we have dealt with individuals and families. Where else can we find demons? How about religious institutions? Demons often live in statues and images of religious figures. They positively thrive on praise directed at them. Let me direct your attention to the second commandment found in the Bible. It states that, "You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in the heavens above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters. You shall not bow down to them or worship them." Are you feeling slightly uncomfortable? This advice was obviously given for a reason. However, have you ever been to a church or a temple that does not have statues? What do people do when they get there? They pray in front of them. They are making some demon very happy. You can even sustain the etheric of a demon by the ritual practices of consuming bread and wine and the burning of incense. Another type of interaction between humans and demons comes in the form of a mutual agreement. Individuals, families, or tribes come to an understanding with a particular nature spirit. The deal is that the demon performs certain services in returns for offerings of some sort. This can lead to unfortunate consequences if the demon is not fed a regular supply of etheric energy. They can become very disruptive. The vilest demons demand blood from their devotees. In the past, primitive societies believed that these demons were gods. The Jewish tribal god Jehovah probably started out as a demon. However, later synthetic thought forms or believers of this entity became the dominant force. You then end up with an egregore representing the thought form. In Hinduism, the Asuras have mistakenly been classified as demons. Shura means diva, and adding an A reverses the meaning into an anti-diva. The Rig Veda describes Asuras as divine spiritual beings. Ashu means breath and Ra means solar god. Therefore, an Ashura is a breath of God. It should be noted that the word Ashura is another term for a guardian angel. And we are all very fond of them, are we not? In my next presentation, I wish to go on and look at false gods and false god concepts. If you wish to read a transcript of the presentation or leave comments, links to my website are in the description box below. Thank you.